Hello there. Welcome to another watch along for Musetti versus Draper at the Sofia Open round of 16 match. And joining me here is the co-host of the Igor and Carlos Tennis Show and our editor, Damien.
Yes, we have released a new episode, shameless plug. But today we're going to be talking about Musetti and Draper, so players we probably did not mention there, even in the Alcaraz ATP related type of situation. Where, we are at 4-3 Musetti with a break. Have you been watching this match? And, what do you think about it so far? And the fact that Musetti is leading by a break, is that in any way a surprise as well?
I think if I went into the match knowing that they're kind of on an even physical. I guess if they're both physically, have the same amount of time to recover in between their matches, then I would assume that, Draper would be the favorite in this one. But given that Draper won the challenger last week, and it's a very quick turnaround in a short amount of time, and he also had to play a match before this, um, perhaps some physical fatigue could be setting in at some point. I don't think that's why he lost the first game, though. I think he was just a little bit too sloppy in that game, and Musetti took advantage of it. And since then, he's been able to hold on to his serve. I mean, he faced a couple of break back points in the very next game, but wasn't able to take it. And so far, yeah, it's just Musetti. His forehand is holding up a little bit better so far, and he's able to keep the ball pretty deep, not allowing Draper to dictate play as much. And yeah, so far Musetti is doing a good job of keeping his nose just in front for the time being. Although Draper is just won the opening point here with an excellent backhand drop shot cross court.
Yeah, I'd have my reservations regarding Jack's fitness, definitely. If it wasn't for the fact that he looked so good yesterday. I mean, he did handle that extremely well. He
Yeah.
was also, of course, facing another player who went to a challenger final last week. So Maximilian Marterer, who did it in
Yeah.
Ismaning, perhaps had the bigger conditions jump. However, given that they had 2 days off, no, 1 day off. Actually, they had just 1 day off. Yeah, I keep thinking that it's Thursday this week. This is because the ATP events are gonna end on Sunday. So yeah, they actually
Yeah.
had just 1 day off. That's fair. So yeah, scratch that. Anyway, he just won the next point with a drop shot pass.
Yeah.
So perhaps he's just steering the course into his favor. Of course, this is their second meeting. They played at the Next Gen Finals last year, when it was, I think, a straight up shootout between them in order of who gets to exit the group, who gets to finish second in that group.
Yeah.
The number one player being Dominik Striker, who defeated both of them. And it turned out that Draper just absolutely smashed Musetti off the court. Turin, less favorable to the Italian, though, despite being in Italy. Not Turin, of course, but Milan. I was already
Yeah.
thinking of the ATP finals. Milan probably fairly similar in terms of how they play, maybe
Yeah.
a little slower.
Yeah. Musetti is one of those players, obviously, who's pretty flashy, pretty entertaining to watch at times. Loves his forehand drop shot. Really relies on it quite a lot,
And
especially
he
when it's
just did.
behind the baseline. And mm, he actually floated a couple of them in the first game where he almost paid the price and got broken, but then he was able to win a couple of cheap points on his serve. He was able to get out of that. So I actually have to take a quick call, but
Okay.
I will join the stream a bit later. I'll go in and out.
Yeah, so I guess one of the things that we sort of have to talk about with Draper is that he is a lot more grindy than people think. Like, he's not really about the big weapons most of the time. He has a lot of different abilities, skills that he can convey and he can employ in a tennis match. And we're seeing that now here as well. I mean, there's been 4 points, two of them won with drop shots. One of them just now just won by, making Musetti play enough balls so that he makes an error. Oh my goodness, by the way, this is a ridiculous shot. Jack Draper had this phenomenal forehand down the line in the Goffin final in Bergamo last week. And this is almost as good. I mean, he was so out of the point here. Literally, after that serve, Musetti had everything that he wanted. He tries to hit his backhand cross court. It's sometimes not easy of that sort of a ball, but he manages to do it. And Draper's just so quick to his forehand corner, pass down the line. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And I was just talking about it. Like, he is actually a very versatile player. He did not win this point with, 5 forehand winners. He had one forehand winner, but that was a situational shot out of defense, reactive type of deal. So basically what I was trying to say is that physicality actually does matter for him a lot, and of course it's something that he struggles with. So we'll see how this keeps on, in the rest of the match. But so far, of course, he's looking fine. He has just broken back. The momentum is on his side. Generally speaking, I still think that he should be the favorite over Musetti indoor hard, basically anytime, anywhere they play. It's also the fact that Lorenzo has been struggling recently to get any wins, really. And Vansh mentioned his flashiness, and I think that sometimes comes back to bite him. The fact that he does not really have one sort of reliable point yielding, point winning tool. He's so varied. He's got every shot in the book, but actually sometimes doesn't know how to put these things together. Draper, to me, is, even though he still probably could use a little bit more balance in terms of what he's trying to pull off, defense, offense, but he's just so much more ready to me in terms of his game to actually be one of the top players in the world. The problem is that the body isn't ready, and we'll see if that changes next year. But I think if Draper just gets a season where he's healthy, top 20 is like the bare minimum, really. And I don't think that's a controversial opinion either. What do I have to do with Bencic? Yeah, so Ghosty, Musetti's break was the very first game of the match. I did not watch it. I just came back home at 4-3 for Lorenzo, but now it's 5-4 Jack, of course. Maroshan won today. You misspelled his name, by the way. It's Z and S are the other way around. If it was spelled like you wrote it, it would be Marosan, whereas it's Marozsan. It's the Hungarian phonetics that I only know because of Piros, Valkus, and Marozsan. But they are actually a perfect example for it because all of them have the different S, right? Marozsan has the ZS, Piros has the S only, which is actually a sh, and Valkus has the SZ, which is actually an S. Anyway, that's of course not that important. But yeah, the fact that he won, of course, I was sort of expecting it after the Bautista Agut Kecmanovic marathon, but Roberto, the legend, still managed to make him work for it. Actually, I see that he had 3 match points, Fabian Marozsan, in the 10th game of the tiebreak, but did it. So exciting to me from tomorrow onwards as well. We've got Ofner Manarino, which recently happened, I think, in the semis in Astana, right? And it wasn't too competitive. Let's see if Ofner can produce something there. Fucovic against Kotov. I think that's a good one. Maybe it's going to be biased against Fucovic. Then I would actually favor Marton quite heavily, although, as we've said many times, he is a player who sort of plays down to the level of his opponent a lot, and also the other way around, plays up to the level of his opponent. And this one for sure, yeah, Marozsan Struff. This is I think absolutely guaranteed watching tomorrow. Like you gotta see it. It's compulsory. I actually watched a match of them already, and it was live as well. Last year in Bratislava. By the way, exactly 365 days ago, apparently, from here. So tomorrow is going to be 366 days. And Fabian Marozsan beat Jan-Lennard Struff on this rapid court 1 in Bratislava, which I was at the time quite surprised by. Then Marozsan went on to reach the final, the first ever all-Hungarian final on the Challenger Tour. He lost to Marton Fucovic there, but it was a real sort of sign of Marozsan's game not only being good on clay, and this was also the reason why I thought he was going to break the top 100 this year. I probably didn't think that he was going to beat Carlos Alcaraz, Casper Ruud, and Alex de Minaur along the way, but I did think that he was going to break the top 100, mostly based on that run. And even though the Bratislava center court is like a lot slower and fit him it did suit him better. The match against Struff on court 1 in Bratislava, I was actually really surprised by, because at the time it just seemed to me like Struff should enjoy the court conditions more. Now that I think of it, I guess for both players, they have their like such conditions can have some sort of disadvantages, but especially with Struff's baseline game. But at the time, I just thought that Maroshan will probably not be able to push him there, like whatsoever, really. Musetti has never beaten Draper. I'm a little surprised by that. I mean, it's just a one match, right? So what the hell? It's not that huge, but yeah, if they keep playing indoor hard, Jack probably is going to win most of them. And now he is in fact 1530. I'm gonna talk about the calendar in a second. Actually, maybe right now. What do you make of the changes to the ATP calendar in 2025? So there's some ATP 250s, right, that are disappearing of the circuit, which I think is a shame. They are sort of desperate to avoid having more than a few events a week. And I just don't know if scratching 250s is the way to go in favor of these bigger, expanded tournaments, right? But then again, like I sort of want to refrain from commenting until I see the full calendar, but certainly there are a few places there that should not be scraped off the tour, like Newport, I think, especially. Although it is a problem, like it is a challenging tournament to hold because it has to be grass and in the States. So there are big issues there, because before Wimbledon you're not going to host it because no one wants to be in the States. After Wimbledon, of course, it does not get the best fields, but in the long run, I think, even though I don't care about the Tennis Hall of Fame myself, I think it's important that an event is hosted there, just sort of maybe to keep up the tradition and stuff, and to give the Americans something to cheer for. Wimby Juniors as well. Yeah, I didn't remember that, but that's possible. Yeah, I Draper did go far at one of the campaigns that he had there, right? He was like Wimbledon 2019 or 18. But yeah, I mean, you're right. If you want to, you can count that. 2018, yeah, he reached the final. He lost to Chunsin Senk, and they played in the quarters. What a match, by the way, in the semis there with Nicolas Mejia, 1917. Draper. Yeah, Newport, Atlanta is also disappearing. What else? Lyon or something like that. I should know more about these changes that I do. But basically, yeah, they want to have more 500s, so they are scratching some. Dallas, Doha, and Munich are supposed to be upgraded. For Doha, I can totally get it. Like on the women's side, that's a big one as well, right? It has won the Tournament of the Year award quite a few times. Dallas, I don't know. And Munich has been a fine event too. It's also a sort of semi-altitude event. Like it doesn't have a lot of altitude, but it's like 500 meters. So I think it does show in how it plays, which could be interesting because we actually don't have an altitude 500 or we have 1,000 in Madrid, but we actually have never really had an altitude 500. I think so. Maybe that's pretty cool. I don't know. I guess if we have Madrid, then who cares really? the next gen score lines, yeah, 4-1, 4-0, 4-3, right? That's Draper beating Musetti, I think, in at the next gen finals last year. Yeah, it was a thrashing. It was really, other than the third set, it was just not close at all. And honestly, I kind of expected it. But you also have to mention that maybe Musetti wasn't like fully there mentally, because he apparently considered not playing that event at all, which I get. Like last year, I was already thinking, does Musetti have anything to play for at the next gen finals? And the answer was probably nah, but it's at home. Why not play it? I think this year, Alcaraz, Rune, Musetti, Shelton, they're probably not going to play it. I don't think that either really should. Maybe like Musetti has already played it so many times. I don't think he's going to want to do it. And And yeah, the other three guys, I think they're just too good for the event. In fact, I think they've already, all of them apparently have already withdrawn. So Shelton and Musetti, and that's why we have 4 players qualified already. And there is that wildcard for Abdullah Shelbike, by the way. I was talking about it like a month ago, where people were sort of thinking about the ATP Finals field, and I was like, okay, so they might give a regional wildcard to Abdullah Shelbike, and yes, indeed, that's the case. Denver, we have tournaments that are higher than Denver. Not on the main tour currently, but there used to be a 250 in Quito, right? I actually don't know, Matthew. It's a very weird decision to me that the post Wimbledon swing is going to be all clay now. I think these events historically, or like generally, have been considered by fans, experts, whoever really, as one of the most unnecessary parts of the year. So yeah, I actually don't really understand that decision. Of course, it's different next year when everyone is going to want to play something on clay before the Olympics. But yeah, generally, I think that part of the season could be. Well, I don't want to just scratch all of these tournaments of planet Earth. I love Kitzbühel. You've got Hamburg, of course, Bostadt. These are all great events, but they could be maybe moved into different parts of the year, or yeah, just sort of reorganized because the whole ATP month after Wimbledon being on clay, that's a little weird to me. Then again, there's probably going to be someone who will say that this is required because hard courts dominate the tour so much at the moment that you sort of need to bring in more clay. Well, I don't know if I'm part of that. I think hard courts is just a very general surface, right? Like there are so many different types of it. On clay, it's probably a little less varied, I would say. Yes, Olympics is on clay, indeed. Was the most underrated 250? Um, yeah, I generally don't have events that I like more. I like less. What's an event that no one cares about and it's good? I don't know. Let me think about that. What should be more onto people? Well, like Kitzbühel, I think these two Austrian altitude clay ones. I don't know how people treat them really, but Draper, by the way, just missed, just had a very narrow miss at 5 all deuce. He was actually earlier 40-15, so he was already close to securing that tiebreak. But then he comes up with a big serve to help him fend off the breakpoint. But yeah, a lot of momentum shifts the last 2 minutes because even in that 4-5 game where Musetti was serving it, there was a moment where it seemed like, okay, so maybe Draper can get it done right here. That's a little sloppy on the pass attempt from Musetti. I think the forehand approach of Draper was quite poor. Huh. Yeah, if someone will come up with a better surface. That's interesting because, of course, yeah, we feel like hard courts have been around forever, but of course, that's not true. Speaking of the post Wimpy Clay season, do you see Ruud getting back in the top 10 next season? Uh, he does have a certain like if he's gonna do it, it's gonna be before Roland Garros, right? And he does have a part of, let's say, until Estoril, he has a huge part chunk of this of the year where he does not defend all that much. So I think it is possible, but my guess is that after Roland Garros, so when he loses his finalist points and I don't know, gets to the quarters, even let's say, that's after that he probably won't really have a shot at the top 10. I think he might end up being a bit of a Nori-ish figure, like firmly in the top 20, but nothing special. That's more or less where he would be if you take away his Rangaros finalist points and give him a quarter there, for example. Like that's more or less where he would be, a Nori like um, points total. Anyway, Musetti held. There was also a question about, well, not a question actually, but a statement about Draper that he is your only hope in England right now, and you hope he stays fit for next year. I do think that's true, that he is basically the only hope, and that's a good hope to have. I wouldn't mind having a Jack Draper, definitely not. It's just, yeah, just a matter of these physical issues. Otherwise, the young players, well, we'll see how Arthur Ferry turns up. I don't think that he's going to be, Draper type of potential. But after turning, foregoing his remaining years of eligibility in college at Stanford, he is doing extremely well at the moment. So I think like top 100 future is probably there for him for sure. But yeah, not Draper type of potential. I don't, at least it doesn't seem like it for now. And of course, Henry Searle. He won the Wimbledon Juniors this year. So, and even on the Pro Tour already since then, he has been getting some very nice wins. Anyhow, let's see if Musetti can hold in the next game. Trading backhand against the Draper forehand and actually lures out an error. I mean, forces it basically. Gets Draper on the move. Yeah, Bostad is not exactly in the mountains. There's like 100 meters altitude or something there. People sometimes try to claim that it's faster than most cards. I don't really think so, but yeah, Stadtkitzbühel, definitely. So maybe something like that. Yeah, would be the answer. Would be my answer to the question about the most underrated 250s. But it really depends on who plays and like what sort of finals we get. I think there used to be a point where Munich was for a few years one of the most exciting events out there. When you had Kohlschreiber facing Murray in that wonderful final in 2015, or like Team also started playing at Zverev. I think Munich was one of my favorites for a while. The ones that don't really get any love are probably the ones just before the slam, but that's fair, right? Like the ones just before the slam usually don't matter all that much. Musetti with a forehand unforced error, and it's going to be 15-30. So another chance for Draper to, well, not a chance yet in terms of a breakpoint, but a mini opportunity for him to attack the Musetti serve here. We'll see if he can produce anything. And I think it's also going to be a second serve for the Italian, who catches the ball again. Well, he's gonna retoss. Nice forehand counter from Draper. He gets to play his backhand cross court really aggressively, and Musetti throws the ball out. Great point, really. When he had the chance, he really upped the pace and the spin on his forehand down the line. It created this backhand angle for him to unleash on, and he did just that beautifully. So 2 set points Draper now. he has been very clutch as well the last week or so. But the Bergamo semi against the Nakashima, he was down a break in the third. Goffin was just absolutely incredible in the first set in the Bergamo final, and Draper just kind of stole it from him. And yeah, Musetti loses the set with this forehand drop shot on the +1 stroke. It does not get over the net. So we've got 7-5 Draper, and since I've started watching this, it hasn't exactly been one-way traffic, but it's more in line of what I expected from the match in the first place than the score that I got that was there when I got here. And yeah, let's remember though that Musetti had a breakpoint at 5-0, so it could have looked a little differently for sure. Yes, ball is live psych. Draper just won the set 7-5. I think it's weird that Adelaide is split into two events. Is that just a money grab? Like, no, it's just a matter of the calendar shifting there quite a lot recently. Like that wasn't the general idea, I guess, right? And you need to have 2 weeks of tournaments before the Australian Open, but Auckland, Adelaide is not going to be split into two events in 2024. There's just one Adelaide International, so it was always just more so a placeholder, something that okay, we need to have 2 weeks of events before the Australian Open. We have this venue that is willing to do it. Yeah, let's do it. But next year we are not going to get two events in Adelaide. So I don't think there are any two part sort of events in 2024. There was probably just Adelaide this year, right? We had Cologne as well in 2020, but again, it was more of a we have to fix something up very quickly rather than what they actually intended to do. So yeah, basically the only one that we have this year was Adelaide, and then there's not going to be any in 2024. So if you Ghosty thought it was weird, that's good for you. Go Draper, win this match and you can win the whole thing, Matthew says, and I have to agree that would be a very exciting finish for this event. And yeah, I just hope that Draper is healthy in 2024. Really, that's all I want here. He also has a very favorable quarterfinal matchup with Cem Ilkel. Semis would be tough against Trufor Marozsan. By the way, either of these guys winning, like that's very good for me as well. And I mean Fucovic or someone as well. Manarino still piling up the points and potentially finishing as the French number one, which I'm sure everyone is really excited about. But yeah, that race is super tight between him and Humbert. Currently, they are even tied on points, and if they win, if both win the title this week, they can be tied on points. Manarino and Humbert, and in that case, Manarino would be higher in the rankings. So it could even be a race that went as close. Well, actually, if they both reach the same round this week, it's gonna be a race that's gonna be yeah, that's just gonna come down to the tiebreaker in the rankings. Why is there a 1 next to Musetti? He is seeded first in Sofia. He is the top seed and yeah, did not have to play his opening round because of that. The top 4 seeds got a bye. But that's the only reason why there's a 1 in next to his name here. Draper does not have anything because he is he was qualified directly but was not a seed. How much is Carlos being paid for Lever Cup participation? Was his team outgrins Federer for every penny as they're desperate for his inclusion? Probably, yeah. I think they probably did. Given the fact that we recently heard from the Vienna organizers that Alcaraz wanted 850,000, what was it, dollars or euros? I can't remember. We can assume that, yeah, they did want a major salary from the Lever Cup. But I think you're obviously right that the Lever Cup desperately wants him here. He's the one who can sort of get the excitement going in the post Big Four era. Maybe they're gonna get Djokovic for next year. Who knows? I mean, Nadal is basically impossible, I think, but Djokovic maybe. But again, that would require a huge payout. But yeah, if Alcaraz is playing Laver Cup, it means they offered him a lot. And should they, if they have the money, absolutely. He's the single, most exciting star in tennis right now who can actually get people to watch this thing. And yeah, it's just probably even the timing, honestly. The fact that they are announcing it a year before, it kind of tells you that they really regretted not having him on this year, and they just wanted to ensure that as early as possible so that he basically schedules around it next year as well, right? Because that means we might not get him, I don't know. Let's see. It's possible to play Laver Cup in Beijing, right? So but like they want him to have this event in mind. Let's just say that Laver Cup in Beijing actually could be tough next year though, because there's that whole thing about China, the Chinese events getting back to the normal calendar, right? I think at least. I don't know. No, actually no. I think let me check that. Anyway, it could be a little bit of a problem because you have the Laver Cup in Beijing, Berlin, right? So it's a longer flight. But are they starting on Wednesday again? Is my question. Yeah, they are actually gonna start Beijing and Tokyo middle of the week. So now it is very possible to play both, but I wonder if it's gonna be different. I think Draper and Musetti up closer to the top 10 with the other 2000 kids. It's kids. Alcaraz, Sinner, Runesh, Shelton would be nice. I think Draper is totally doable. Totally doable. Just, he gets a year when he's healthy. He's going to be up there. Musetti, he has kind of stabilized. I feel like this year he hasn't made any progress whatsoever. And I am afraid that this is how it might look. He is obviously, ungodly talented, but I think that must be just one might be just one of these cases where the player is incredibly skillful and like has all the natural talent in the world, but it's just really hard to put this game together. When does the next set start? Yeah, it has already started. What are those numbers under live? I don't know where. Like, oh, here, like the points and games. Draper leads seven. He won the first set 7-5, and now they are playing the second set, the first game of the second set. That's just the tennis scoring system. It's super weird if you don't know what it's about. It basically takes a while to learn it, which is why some people think that tennis is just not great for like young modern audiences, which I think is semi true. I'm going to make a bold prediction. Gael Monfils won't be there. Laver Cup? Yeah, probably not. Although, yeah, I don't know. He does bring the entertainment, but I think the Laver Cup format for him, he only really needs to play one singles match and one doubles, right? That's how the rules are formed. And the problem is that he's not gonna play more because they want to win as well. And yeah, then he just plays one match, and is it really worth it getting him there? Maybe if he played for basically next to nothing, right? Maybe if they spent all of their money on Alcaraz, and then Gael Monfils is brought in. I don't know. It also, of course, depends on how he's gonna be doing from there. Breakpoint for Musetti, first game of the second set, but Draper is there with this serve out wide, of course, as a lefty. Amazing tool to have on that side, the outside, and then he just follows it up with a clean +1 backhand winner into the open court because Musetti kind of overcommitted on the backhand return. And that's a beautiful volley now from Draper as well. He approaches the net. He gets it at a pretty uncomfortable height, actually, after the Musetti flick pass. But the volley, the volley was excellent. And Draper kicks off the second set with a hold. So still a lot of momentum on his side. But it was a pretty long game. Musetti had his chances, just couldn't convert them, which is basically what's been happening since I got here, since we started this live stream. I'm still thinking about these next gen ATP finals, right? Like the fact that the top four players either can't play because they're the ATP finals or like just don't want to play. It definitely hurts the event. For me, it's okay. Like I really want to see guys like Medjedovic, Mikkelsen, Kazal there. Of course, I want to see them there. But like for the general public, for people who aren't that invested in, let's say, youngsters that are on the verge of breaking through, rather than the ones who have already broken through, it's probably not gonna be that much of um, a draw. But another great point from Draper. He actually wins this after a moonball. Musetti can't really decide what to do with it. I mean, sorry. I mean, of course, Musetti moonballs, and it just doesn't seem to be a good decision. Draper runs into the net forwards. He hits the drive volley and then just puts it away. I think it was quite short as well. It gave Draper a ton of time to run over to the net. So Musetti is kind of hanging on by a thread here. He is 5-7, love 1, 15-30. 15-30 because he just won a point with an unreturned serve, but certainly times of trouble for the Italian. Is that out? I think it might be. Yeah, Musetti not happy about the call, and certainly can understand him because it was super close. But it is 15-40 now after he misses this inside out forehand, and this could be a moment where the match really runs away from him. Draper is into the next point. A slice from Musetti just goes out. Yeah, he floated it completely. I think instantly after hitting it, he just knew that wasn't gonna land. And that's 5-7 love 2 now. So Jack Draper in cruise control, we'll see. But certainly since we started the stream, it's been increasingly straightforward. Oh, and Vansh is there. 3 minutes. Okay, that's how long
Wow.
it took me to notice that. But I just wasn't, at the main page.
All good. I came back from my call and I see that it's setting a break up for
Yeah.
Draper.
So you
When
weren't
I
able to watch anything during the call?
no,
Okay.
unfortunately not. But when I left, it was 4-3, 15-30, and Musetti was the one with the break. So
Yeah,
clearly
Musetti
things
is
have changed.
making strange choices, but Draper broke with this phenomenal game when you saw that drop shot, right? Then there was a drop shot pass as well, and he
Yeah,
broke with a sensational forehand pass. Like
yeah,
it was, I don't know if you saw that, but there was a shot from the Goffin final in Bergamo that he hit, which was
I
fairly
think so. Yeah,
similar. There, it wasn't really a pass. Against Goffin, it was more so just a forehand down the line when he was, when Goffin was overcommitted. Here, it was actually a pass. Musetti runs to the net, and Draper just barely gets there and slams this forehand down the line. And from
mm,
there, even though there was a breakpoint at 5-all for Musetti, from there
mm,
it has felt increasingly straightforward and like increasingly one-way traffic with every single game. Musetti is now making some very weird choices as well, and yeah, kind of seems to have
mm,
lost it mentally too. The way he gave away the previous game, although again in the first game of the set for Draper, it was actually really long and Musetti had some chances. So
yeah.
it's really just the last two games that started running away from Lorenzo in just a matter of seconds, minutes.
How would you rate the season overall from Musetti? Obviously, it was a bit of a struggle until Monte Carlo after
Yeah.
United Cup, uh, where he won 4 matches, but competition not as strong. And then afterwards, it wasn't until basically Monte Carlo where he beat Djokovic, and then followed it up with a Barcelona semi. Played well at Roland Garros, taking out Nori in that really comfortable straight setter, and then yeah, I mean losing to Alcaraz, but then he had a decent Wimbledon too. He lost to Hurkacz in the third round there, and then basically since then, I mean, he's lost a couple times to Medvedev, a couple times to Dimitrov. Uh, Bit of a disappointing U.S. Open, I guess, for him too. So I mean, yeah, and he's like around where he was at the same time last year, but there were some chances to be perhaps higher if the first 3-4 months had gone better.
Yeah. Also before I refer to that, Nurlan said, "Yo yo yo, Damien, what's up today with you? Does that mean that I'm looking weird or something? I don't know." But he apparently has questions about Pegu versus Iga, and
Oh,
yeah, of course, Nurlan, you can ask them. And basically, I was kind of mentioning that Musetti sort of year thing before you came on. I basically said that he hasn't made progress. He kind of has in probably in his grass game for sure,
yeah.
like the way he was hitting his serve in the summer. Generally speaking, in the summer there was this moment when he had like 9 consecutive events with consecutive matches won or something like that,
Mm,
like something like that. I mean, he was winning back-to-back matches at every event for a while,
yeah.
and that was good. That was really good consistency. But as a general thing, yeah, I just don't think he improved all compared to 2022 really. So
Okay.
um, as a whole, I think he sort of stabilized, and that's not a good thing for him because we had higher hopes. And the
Yeah.
Djokovic win, honestly, yeah, like it's fine. It's always good to beat Djokovic, regardless of the disposition that he's in. But it wasn't
Yeah.
a truly groundbreaking, incredible win that will leave us
Sure.
breathless. And yeah, no, just no. Baby Grigor, really? Musetti was dubbed like that? Uh,
Oh, yeah. We
yeah,
gotta
no.
stop with the whole baby, baby fed,
We
baby fed
could. I think sometimes, it can
kind of stuff. But
be okay, but like Musetti,
yeah,
Grigor, other than the fact that they have a one-handed backhand, I think there's
yeah.
no real other point of comparison between these two.
Someone is asking about Pagula versus Iga, probably referring to the final in Cancun.
Yeah, because that's what Nurlan said.
Yes.
I have questions for you about Pegu versus Iga, but we'll see what Nurlan comes up with, basically.
Yes. Shameless plug, but we covered that a lot on our last podcast episode. Episode 14 of the Ego and Carlos Tennis Show, guys. So do subscribe to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna check if the listening stats are high or not. If
Yeah.
not, I will encourage you even further to check it out. Even though for now it actually does not give us, money or something, but maybe in the
Yeah.
future. Yes.
We do have a quite a
Um,
quite a base in Poland. I can tell you that. A lot of our listeners are from there.
okay. Yeah, it makes sense, but then
Yeah.
again, I haven't really had any polls reaching out, I guess, and or
Mm.
anything like that. Well, if they have, it was under the tweets, so you also saw that. Like there wasn't anyone
Mm.
really talking to me about the show in DMs or something. Yeah, I guess for the second, because we only released it like under 24 hour under 24 hours ago, right? So I
Yeah.
think yeah, the episode is selling more or less like the previous ones. So
Okay.
um Pegu, no, it's definitely Pegula. I don't think it's gonna be about Irina Camelia Pegu. Although if Nurlan has any questions about Irina Camelia Pegu, we can talk about her. Although nah, yeah, it's gonna be a little tougher than about Jessica Pegula. Less conversation topics probably, and less time spent watching her in 2022. I mean, if Draper won this point, by the way, that would have been the end of the match. Like Musetti would have just thrown his racket and left
Mm.
the Sofia courts. But at least he finally has something, a sexy drop shot lob combo.
Yeah, he's always gonna come up with some cat and mouse tennis. Yeah. He's your classic case of has a lot of shots, super flashy, flamboyant, but hasn't figured out how to kind of put it all together for that consistency that he can have point in and point out. I think the main thing also is just the focus sometimes kind of wavers with him. So there's games where he's super dialed in, super focused, always making good choices, trusting the forehand, serving better. But then there'll often be like this patch in a match where, like in this one, where Draper kind of figures out or elevates his level, and then Musetti is kind of struggling to come up with a way to counter it, and maybe perhaps he loses a little bit of belief and focus, and just for a little bit, and sometimes that's enough at this level. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get better at that because he's pretty much stabilized right now between 20 and 30 in the world. So it'll be interesting to see next year if he can, make a few more of those gains and still keep up the consistency during the clay court season.
I didn't watch the ATP Paris Masters video of the past champions, but yeah, Sok over Krajinovic, of course, that was one of the
Yeah.
weirdest ATP 1000 finals in history, probably. Philippe still hasn't won a title, and it looks like
I remember that run
he will
for
never do it.
Pui getting to the semis also. Luca Pui.
Yeah, and
That
the
was
next year was super weird
nice.
too. Beneteau was in the semis of his last ATP career
Mm.
tournament. Was it his last tournament? Like one of his last tournaments, at least. I think maybe even was his last
Oh,
tournament.
sorry. No, no, no. Did I say Pui? I meant Benito. I meant Benito.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah, you
meant I
said
meant
Pui.
Benito. Yeah.
I didn't
I mean,
remember that.
Stock also beat Pui on the way there, but Benito
Yeah,
was
yeah.
with the semifinal run.
And Krajinovic got a wild card, got a walkover from Nadal, right?
Yes, yes, he did in the quarterfinal.
So it was a bit of a scammed run, but he should have had an ATP title. I don't know if at Paris, probably at the 250 somewhere,
Yeah,
but
and
he
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 made
should
the
have had
final of Queens. He made the final of Hamburg. Made the
five
final.
finals, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he's definitely
up
shown it
there
on
as one of
multiple
the
surfaces. Yeah.
best players to win an ATP to
And
never win an
yeah,
ATP title. But right now, probably there are a couple of stronger contenders with Struff, with
Stove
Davidovich Fokina,
is a strong one. Yeah.
Davidovich Fokina.
Yeah.
So Probably Krajinovic is not really in the conversation
Jack
anymore.
Draper.
But oh, Jack Draper, yeah, I didn't think of him. But soon enough he's gonna do it. Like
Yeah,
Davidovich Fokina, I'm less certain, but he should do it over the course of his career. Like it seems improbable that he ends it without a title. Struff, of course, is sort of running low on time, but maybe this week, Sofia. He
yeah.
would need to go
I
through a
was thinking that.
pretty
Yeah,
tough field though, because he plays Marozsan in the quarters. He also plays Draper potentially in the semis, so it wouldn't be the easiest pathway to a title.
yeah. Marochan hitting this amazing tweener lob today against Bautista Agut and coming through 7-6 in the third after having the 3 match points before the third set tiebreak, but eventually, got the win, and he's starting to be a bit more of a problem to players on tour. Also had a pretty good run in Shanghai, right? Got to the quarters there. Took out Diminor and Rude on the way there.
Fabian, yeah.
Yeah. So he's
He beat Struff 365 days ago.
oh, is it?
Interestingly, yeah, I didn't know it, but well, I watched that match live in Bratislava, but I just didn't know it was exactly 365 days ago, which is pretty cool. I'm gonna tweet about it probably.
Yeah. Labor Cup. Yeah, yeah. This is I'm referring because Alcaraz is signed up right now for
Yeah,
Labor Cup already a year in advance, which I mean is a good way to sell tickets. I can tell you that. uh, but if he ends up playing, I mean, it would be really good for the event. Oh yeah, and then same with Djokovic, of course. Djokovic and Alcaraz on the same team for Europe.
yeah, but if they spend so much money on Alcaraz, will they have enough to bring back Novak?
Yeah. Yeah, Monfils made the final in 2009 and 2010 for the Paris Masters. 2009, actually, he came pretty close. He pushed Djokovic to a third set tiebreak. Ended up, and then ended up playing a really epic match against Federer in 2010 in the semis, where he saved 5 match points, but then lost to Robin Soderling in the final. Yes, I've said it before. I'll say it again. But Soderling is one of those what if players for this era because he was trending really up in 2011 when he the last tournament that he played. I mean, he beat Berdych and Ferrer very comfortably in the semis and finals, and I thought he was potentially in with a shot to win one major in the next 3-4 years. But then unfortunately, he ended up getting mono and we never saw him again. So that was a bit unfortunate.
Thinking who's the Frenchman in the video that
Was it?
was referring
Was
to?
it? It
Must be
was.
someone before like around 2000 or
I, I.
earlier, right?
Oh, okay. Before 2000, it might have
Right?
been Arnaud Clement, or it might have been
Hmm. think
or
uh,
Cedric Pauline.
yeah, or Grosjean, because I think Grosjean won
Yeah,
won 1,000 somewhere, but I'm not sure where,
yeah,
honestly. Like after 2005, I probably know. Well, let's say 2005 onwards, I should know the winner of every ATP 1000. But before that, I'm sort of foggy there. There are some very random names as well, right? Right there, like I don't know, Andrei Pavel, Felix Mantilla, and
yeah,
Albert Portas, especially. So, not Paris, of course, but any ATP 1000, which at the time was not even known as the ATP 1000.
yeah. Yeah, I mean Hamburg would get a little bit weird sometimes. Like you had Augustine Caleri or something in the final, and
Yeah,
2003.
I think that's the one that Portas won as well. And we also
Mm.
had the Robredo Stepanek final there, which was
Yep,
crazy.
2006. Robredo deserved a 1000, so that's good.
Yeah, he had a lot of consistency in terms of like going deep in every event.
Yeah,
Probably more so than people remember him for, because there was really just like 1 year when he was firmly in the top 10.
yeah.
But
It's also quite crazy how good Davydenko was in these 1000s. Like very good. I mean, he won three of them. He's yeah. He I mean, he generally he just won a lot of titles in his career. So
yeah, and we're talking about Nikolai Davydenko because this match is coming to an end. Lorenzo
yeah,
Musetti has
it's just
just hit a pretty wild backhand
yeah.
unforced error. Before that was a forehand unforced error.
Looked like he
He's
kissed the net
just,
there.
yeah, he's just not comfortable with the rhythm of the ground right now. I mean, I think he kind of checked out after losing that first game, even
Oh,
probably more so
just for
second
another
game.
drop
But
shot.
this is a cool shot. Yeah,
Wow. Yeah. I mean, he's so talented. He can pull off these kind of shots.
yeah,
It's just yeah. I mean, when these players in this generation, like Rona and Musetti and even Shelton, sometimes when they decide to point shorten, they can get away with it a lot of the times because they're just so talented, even if they're kind of out of it, either physically or mentally. Usually, it's physically when it comes to Runa or uh, yeah, mostly Runa. Yeah, Davydenko was so much fun to watch. Such a good ball striker. I loved watching him, especially that 2009 2010 time. He was so good.
yeah. Wins the 2009 ATP Finals, wins Doha at the beginning of the year, and then goes into
Yeah.
the Australian Open. Gets off to a great start against Federer, loses 11 games in a row, but actually
Yep.
keeps the fourth set very close. And Roger had that tactical break there where he takes a 10 minutes medical in order for the sun to pass over the stadium a little bit. And
Was that after
that
the first set?
that was definitely after the first set. I think maybe even after a few games in the second. But definitely, he has said that it was only um, to wait out a couple of minutes. So it obviously worked like a charm.
Hmm.
Wasn't he also maybe down a break in the second?
I believe he
I'm not
was.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 6-2, 3-1 or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe 6-2, 3-2. But yeah, he ended up winning that match, and of course Davydenko never really got close to winning a slam, but
Hmm.
he did win the ATP finals, which is, well, the
Yeah.
next best thing.
Well, his chance was actually much earlier in 2005 to get to a final.
Yeah,
Where
but probably wouldn't have won it, right?
no, he would have lost, but he did match up very well against Rafa.
Yeah, so
So
so that's why I'm
that's
sort of thinking, but on clay probably not.
no,
Has
yeah,
he
no,
even beaten Nadal on clay?
no. He's 6-1 against Rafa outside of clay though, and
And
on
zero
clay
four on clay?
0-4. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
But they
so
had they had one really amazing match. I want to say 2007 Hamburg. They played an amazing match there. It was like yeah, it was
that's Rome.
of
But
time.
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just checking that. I actually don't remember that much whatsoever. But yeah, on clay it was never really, other than that match, it wasn't really close. But
yeah. But they gave
yeah,
us that one really good match. So I
maybe
remember.
in 2005, maybe. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I
Mariano
mean,
Puerta did not threaten Nadal, but
yeah,
Davydenko, maybe. Davydenko was definitely the player of like a higher ceiling, that even at the
sure.
time, probably not in his like full on peak yet.
Yes, he did beat Nadal in Miami 2008 in the final. Actually, pretty routined him. It was like 4-2. I remember that. Yeah, actually beat Djokovic and Nadal back to back to win Shanghai in 2009. So
Yeah, and then ATP finals. So as
yeah,
you can see, he was one of the favorites for the Australian Open in 2010. He just lost to Roger from a very good position, a set and a breakup. And of course, Federer ended up winning the title.
actually, there's that joke of Federer and Roddick. There's like a 1 minute clip of them like just talking to
Uh-huh.
each other in the Labour Cup in 2021, and they were talking about how if the lineup was 2009, what would it look like? And Roddick made this comment to Federer. He's like, if this was 2009, I mean, Davydenko was like four in the world, but he was probably the fifth best player on the team. So
Also,
because
Lever
there was,
Cup.
yeah, because they had all the big three at the time, and
Yeah,
Andy, so he would have been, yeah, he would have been maybe the fifth choice, despite being four
yeah,
in the
that's
world.
true.
So
Another great drop shot pass play from Draper, actually, not from Musetti. We've seen a few of these already in this match.
and regarding the next gen finals, I think Shelton is not playing it, right? I mean, yeah, Shelton, Runa, Musetti, and Sinner, and Alcaraz are not. None of them were playing. So Feast would be the number one seed, which I guess is good. I mean, you want to watch Feast. He should probably be the favorite to win. But it would be fun to see, like, yeah, there's some of the other players. Medjedovic is a very good player indoors. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, in general.
definitely quite a bit of pressure on Fees. Striker had a phenomenal run last year in the groups, but then it ended rapidly. Vanash, yeah, no. Koboli is pretty awful indoors generally.
Mm.
Medjedovic is going to be a threat. Alex Mikkelsen,
Yeah,
I want to see how he does in Champagne this week. Sorry, not Champagne, but Knoxville, because well, he's actually playing against that Gabriel De Bruyne right now, and they're going into the third set. Because the last few weeks have been very disappointing for Mikkelsen, so
mm,
that's the only reason why I'm sort of hesitating. And I think Kazo could be a surprise package there, if it's actually him, because there's still some hero rounds possible, but
yeah,
probably nothing will happen. Nardi maybe if he played a great event somewhere, maybe he'd have a shot,
yeah.
but most likely not. What's Nardi playing next is a question I have. Where is he in the rankings? Yeah, so he's playing the whole Japanese swing. Yeah, I forgot that. Of course, he's playing this week. He beat James McCabe earlier. So yeah, actually, Nardi could have a hero run to the next gen finals. It's very possible, especially as Kazo has already gone out this week. He was in Metz and lost to Pierre Igerberg.
If
So
we ended up
yeah,
getting a Feast Stricker
huh?
final, if we ended up getting a Feast versus Stricker final, that would be quite
Yeah,
good
and it
for the
wouldn't be
event.
obvious who wins, honestly. There's obviously a huge consistency drawback between, I mean, in Sticker's game, where sometimes he's just gonna peek and kill you, and sometimes he's awful. He's also injured at the moment. He has pulled out of Helsinki and Danderit, which is a shame because I'm going to
Yeah,
the latter. So yeah, we'll see how what his physical shape is actually going to be by the time we get to the next gen finals. Then again, it's also not a player for whom that matters all that much.
yeah. Actually, I was just telling this to someone the other day, Miles, about Hachanov and Struff. Because they were out so long with injury, and especially Hachanov, the fact that he's so close, still in the you know top 10, like very close to that. I think he'll become 13 if he wins the title. Yeah, he's playing Shevchenko. That's kind of that's a tough match, but certainly you would make Hachanov the favorite. Uh, but if he wins this, he'd be 13, and he didn't play Wimbledon, and he wasn't healthy during U.S. Open, and basically all the tournaments in between. So kind of unfortunate for him because he was having a very good year until that point, very consistent year, I should say. He did win a title after that, which was pretty good for him. It's just the second event back from injury.
Kyrgyz, another major final. Ooh, ooh,
I don't really see it, but it could happen at Wimbledon.
ooh. Yeah. I think we talked about this like pretty recently for some reason that
A lot of things had
even
to happen in order for
yeah,
that to happen. A lot of things.
exactly.
Like, I mean, Berrettini wasn't playing. RBA is always a tough matchup for him. He almost
You
lost
had
in
the
the first round, right?
walkover.
He almost
Yeah,
lost in the
Paul
first
Job.
round It was
Paul
5-0,
Jab
15-40.
and
He was
who else?
pissed.
Brandon Nakashima almost beat him.
Yeah,
So
Brandon Nakashima almost beat him. Yeah, and then he had obviously the walkover against Nadal, which is a big one in the semis. So
can we stay live until 2015? Yeah, probably. Why not? Especially if Musetti wins
semi,
this
yeah.
game, it's not going to be a problem at all.
Yes, yes. No, Miles has a lot. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hachanov has a lot to defend in the first half of next year for sure.
Yeah, but when he gets to Roland Garros, then he has 3 months where he has nothing to defend. So,
Yeah, after RG until US. So that's where he's gonna have to make a gain.
well, yeah, I mean, at the US Open, he defends 10 points, and then
Yeah.
then it will be Asia, basically. So it's like almost 4 months without anything to defend. So
Mm.
that could be a cool chance for Kachanov to get back up there. It's not his strongest part of the season, but he did make the U.S. Open semis. So
Yeah. But he's very good in the slams.
yeah, and the Sunshine Double as well. A lot of the time.
Yeah. And in the indoor swing after the US Open too.
Yeah,
So
basically he is good anywhere. I
he's
mean, he's
he's pretty
one of
good,
these
yeah.
guys with a super high base level and someone who
Grass
just
is a
brings
little
it
bit trickier
a
for
lot of
him
the
with a
time.
lower bounce. But
Yeah, but he's still good on it. I remember him like at the beginning of his career, he was actually really good on grass, pushing Federer in the semis at
yep,
Halle.
yeah, yeah. I remember he had a set point and a second serve uh,
Yeah, and
to
that was like the
yeah.
more ballsy version of Kachanov that we used to have on the tour. 2 match points for Jack Draper as he tracks down this Musetti drop shot and makes him pay for the sloppy execution.
Yeah, we've seen so many points like this from Musetti and in some of these rallies. Looks like Draper will continue his win streak and run. I mean, also it was unfortunate for Draper that the biggest thing that's holding him back is just physical and fitness because yeah, basically didn't play anything after Indian Wells, and then he had to retire against Alcaraz. But he was playing very well then. Oh,
And that's it.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack Draper wins this match. Since we started commentating it, it was really one-way traffic, more or less. Although it could have been very different if Musetti claimed that breakpoint at 5-all. I think after he got broken in the second set, there was definitely a feeling of, yeah, I just want to get off the court from Musetti. Which we're
Yeah.
gonna see a lot of players like that. It's the last week of the season,
It was
after all.
last week, yeah. So it's hard to keep that
Yep.
motivation up. And I mean, yeah, he'll finish the season still in the top 30, and then he'll have a nice holiday for a bit, and then come back and has a lot to gain in the first 4 months of the next season. So we'll see if he can do that.
Yeah, and John asked us to stay until 2015, so until 8 minutes, which we're gonna do. I'm not sure what the reason is, but we're gonna just chat about random things, tennis, until then, I guess. Making a slam final is an accomplishment, of course, Ghosty. And yeah, I don't wish that Kyrgios would have lost that first round. I think it's cool that we got him in a Grand Slam final. Like, just got a bit of a glimpse of what he could be. But I'm not one of these people that think that Nick Kyrgios, if he just maybe focuses himself, gets a little bit motivated for a year, he's suddenly in the top 5 or something. I don't think he would be a very constant presence at the top. But obviously, that 2022 season was awesome. And I don't think I really needed any convincing that at his best, he can beat absolutely anyone.
Yeah, that's a pretty good take because like at least the 2022 season showed us when he's healthy and when he's focused and when he's committed, what can he actually do?
Yeah.
Like and we saw that he can be like you know top 10, but we also know that he can't really be top 5. So so we got that picture at least. And we also know how hard it's going to be to replicate that year over year for him, just given injuries, motivation, the kind of character he is with his ups and downs. So there is that. But I don't know. You just put him on a grass court with that serve and everything, and it's just yeah. I mean the serve itself is such a ridiculous shot. So
Yeah, it's impossible to read. It's basically one of the best motions in the sport because he's not actually, I don't know, John Isner type of tall.
yeah,
It's definitely one of the most impressive serves that we have ever seen on the tour, really. And
yep,
yeah, it's sort of like Musetti, the guy is just so skillful that basically the natural talent is just through the roof.
yep,
It sometimes can be hard to piece Musetti's game together, but I think Kyrgios mostly knows what he's doing, what he wants to do on the court. But well, he has his own issues. Let's say that.
yeah,
The commentary ATP Finals, it's gonna be interesting to check out. It could be a major dud, but if he starts saying things that are, well, I don't want to say controversial, but saying things that are gonna be out there at least, and like, yeah, I think it could get people to watch for sure as a sort of one-time thing once a year. I think it's really cool. He also played the ATP Finals last year, right? So that's a
in the
nice
doubles,
twist.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the thing is, yeah, I mean it's a business, right? And so they know that if he comes on and gives some opinions, like people will tune in for it. So there is that, like however people feel about him and how polarizing he is. There are some people who will just want to tune in and they're just curious. Oh, David Ferrer making a grand slam. Yeah, that was quite an accomplishment for sure. Especially that he didn't drop a set to get there, and during that era as well. Mm.
Yeah, I'm back. Someone just texted me about Kasper Żuk's ITF loss today, and I did not know it yet, but it actually did happen. He played Anton Matusevic, whom you actually a lot of casual viewers even might remember from this one very famous match against Bernabe Zapata Miralles in Wimbledon qualifying, which is only famous because Wimbledon only has one sort of official stream for Wimbledon qualifying and court 11. So they actually showed it like on YouTube for free, and lots of people tuned in. And it was a great one, 5-setter in the final qualifying round at Wimbledon. So a tough opening draw, I think, for an ITF round one. I think it was 25k Trnava, but of course it does not help one of the more underrated and underranked Polish players. If guys like, yeah. Ghosty is full on ghosty right now. We missed you, mate. What else do we have later on today in Metz or Sofia? Let's maybe chat about that. Sofia, there's only one more match coming, Kotov against Baez. And in Metz,
Yep.
of course, Shelbike, who was announced as a next gen finals wildcard today, will play
Mhm.
Sonego. And Stan Wawrinka is currently up a set on Luka Van Asch. So sort of trying to get his revenge after blowing a huge chance against him in Banja Luka, which I'm honestly
Good chance,
still
yeah.
angry about. I'm still angry about this. I
Because we
really
didn't get
wanted
Novak Djokovic Wawrinka, that's why. Yeah.
yes. I really wanted that if that match back then. I thought that Wawrinka actually would have had a shot, unlike when they played next, in
Yeah.
2023, when it was just not the surface, not the conditions for him. And yeah, just the sheer fact that I said somewhere, well, a lot of it, I said in a lot of places, that Vanash is basically not going to hold up on the main tour, in my opinion, at least for now, at least not yet. And I want to be right too. I am right. I mean, he hasn't been able to.
Every time someone says Vanash, I think they're saying my name. It just happens every time.
Oh, I
Every
never
time,
thought
dude.
of that.
Every time.
I
Because
never thought of that.
because yeah, I mean, especially here in America, they mispronounce my name so often. So that's the
Okay.
pronunciation they always come up with.
So
Vanash,
how do
Vanash,
they say it? Vanash?
Vanash, Vanish.
Uh-huh.
I mean, yeah,
Vanish?
that's yeah.
Vanish. I don't know. Is this also like a hmm, how do you call that? There's this detergent basically in Poland that's called Vanish. It would be funny if someone
Yeah,
called it that. I think it's simply called Vanish because of the word vanish. But of course, in
yeah, yeah.
Poland, not many people know what vanish means because it's not like one of the most obvious English words. So I think most people actually don't know that. So it would be funny if you were named like the detergent.
Yeah.
And yeah, Havanash, alias Bancher Vermani.
Mm.
One player has sort of struggled on the main tour. One player is doing very well in the commentary booth at Talking Tennis and in the Iga and Carlos tennis show, which we are plugging for like the
Yes.
10th time today. Apparently, we can also finish already, so we don't have to keep rambling on. And yeah, thank you guys for being here with us, and thanks for watching Musetti Draper with us. One more question from Miles: do you guys have any plans to attend some ATP 250s in 2024? Vansh, you go first.
Well, I really want to go to Newport, okay, because yeah, because of the cultural significance and because it's in the States and because it's right after Wimbledon. So I'm going to plan to go to Newport next year, especially because it's the last year that they have the event. San Diego is always there. San Diego Open just before Indian Wells. Indian Wells, same. I'll probably go there for a few days or a couple of days at least. Oh wait, you're talking about 250s. Yeah. I don't know if there's any other 250s. I'll go to next year. Maybe Atlanta. I don't know. I would really aim for Newport. That's like the big one for me. What about
Yeah.
you, Damon?
Yeah, go ahead.
What about you? Any 250s you're planning
Um,
to go to?
Probably not. At the time, I'm not really interested in major events for the most part. Maybe if there was like yeah, like I could imagine myself going to the first week of Islam or something, but I don't know. Mostly, I just look at the challengers, and that's gonna be my plans. ATP 250s, for the most part, I just feel like they are the same as like higher tier main tour events where there's already that whole circus in terms of how press is handled and how little access you actually have to anything, but also the players. Whereas, yeah, the low key atmosphere at the Challengers just suits me a lot more, and it fits, the Challenger show that I do, and generally speaking, what I'm trying to do. So, let's say my main goal in life, which is introduce more people to Challenger tennis. So, yeah, I think for now, ATP 250s aren't really on my radar. I'll probably be at the Warsaw WTA 250 again, just because it's
Nice.
Poland and like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, it's here. But other than that, I'm assuming that probably I'm not gonna be at any 250 on the men's side. I actually only had visited once in my life, one in my life, and that was in Marseille 2020. And my experience there honestly wasn't that great. Like, yeah, I just
Right.
didn't really feel like there was much sense in me going to more 250s. I feel like I'm doing a much better job and like just am able to produce more interesting content at challengers and having a lot more fun too. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The San Diego does not have an ATP 250. I think I was talking about the WTA. So it will be a WTA 500 at the end of February. Yeah, the ATP 250 was just temporary for a couple of years, 2021 and 2022. But now that we've gone back to China, they got rid of that. So that's it is what it is. But we do have a very good WTA 500, so that is good for the event.
All right, so that's gonna be it then. And Stefanos saying that winning the ATP finals is bigger than winning a slam. No,
Yeah,
that's
no, it's not. Obviously,
he's
everybody
better
knows
off
it's not.
quoting Van Schwermani, the famous Twitter
Yes,
journalist,
yes. Do
rather
that
than
again. Do that again, Stephanos. If you're listening, do it again. Okay.
Steph. If you want to quote my most recent tweet, which I think was that Maroshan Struve thing that I mentioned, go ahead, mate. Go ahead. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
even gonna care.
Yeah.
You're
I
gonna make me a
will.
legend, sort of. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's fun.
Yeah.
Even if you don't, attribute the quote to me. Um, yeah,
Nice.
and also tune into these exclusive interviews that John is talking about. Jasmine Paolini and Martina Trevisan, especially Martina Trevisan, obviously Ghosty. I know this will go into your fab folder, so check that out. And yeah, thank you again.
All right. Yeah. Thanks.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.